Hello YouTube, welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Kevin and this is the Red Pilling channel. So I want to discuss a little about Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson has been let's just say there's a lot of people that are Tucker Carlson obsessed, and it's in an unhealthy way. Almost like it's getting so bad where we already know the left have Tucker Carlson. We already know a lot of people on the left hate Tucker, but there are people on the right. Let's just say he's causing there's a divide that's growing, at least on the internet. Okay, the internet's not real life, but because the influencing culture on big is so big now because of all information, people who do go through there can be prone to it. So you got to be careful with that. Okay. I'm by no means saying that he's perfect. He's not. Okay? No one is, and I'm not saying he's correct on everything. I would say if I had to give between 1 and 8, how factually correct is Tucker Carlson? I think of all the people I can think of that are who are the most mainstream. Okay, there's Tucker, there's Carlson, there's Megyn Kelly, there's Steven Crowder, there's Benny Johnson. I mean, I'd say I would give, just to be on the safe side, I would give them all an 85% accuracy in regards to journalistic. So if I had to give Tucker, in regards to being more correct on what they cover, I'm only going to play that safe because, let's face it, we all can be disingenuous sometimes, and we can leave important things out. But in regards to them, when it really matters, they generally are very accurate on what they propose. Like Tucker's recent thing on let me see, Donald Trump's assassination killer, Crooks, the guy who on Trump's first attempt, where he was shot in the ear. I mean, it's almost been a whole year now, and we haven't heard anything about it. Over a year now, and we recently got some facts about it. And so Tucker was the first one to talk about it, and which is kind of funny because, I mean, I like to see Crowder talk about it for once. I like Crowder, but he likes to scold Tucker. He has some personal beef with Tucker for some reason. I'm not sure why. But I mean, if you're gonna, why don't it's for all those who have some issue with Tucker, why don't you show the good things about Tucker than just all the bad things? I mean, spread the journalistic thing on Thomas Crooks, who tried to kill Donald Trump. I mean, it's interesting. So yes. But 85%, maybe you can put it up to 90. I think they're relatively accurate on most things. I think on the things that matter. Because I'd say sometimes we miss things. I think the thing with Tucker, Megyn Kelly, and I could say Steven Crowder, because those are the ones I trust the most. Tucker, Steven, and Megyn, is largely because I don't think any of them, if they miss anything, I think they relatively will admit it. But I also think generally they might have different angles of what they focus on. We have to. We all can't talk about the same thing. We have to look at different. There's just so much. So I think they all try to be accurate. And I definitely trust them more than I would trust the legacy media. That's kind of a given. Now, where do I rate Tucker Carlson in regards to his personality? Well, I love his laugh. His laugh is like, I do think if he ran for president, his laugh would definitely, it'd be interesting as a laugh. I mean, his personality, he kind of has a Trumpy personality. He kind of is in your face a little bit. He has no problem kind of getting into it sometimes in debates. A little bit more brass than Charlie, for sure. No one can really beat Charlie. Just not. Um, but I'd say personality, I would give him about, you know, I'd say as a male and young, I like his personality. I give him a 9 on personality. I mean, he kind of, he's kind of what we need, I think. A little bit of sense of humor, a little bit of seriousness too. And in regards to his way he conducts interviews, that's a complicated one. I think Tucker definitely, you could say he definitely picks and chooses who he's going to be tough with and not with. And that's kind of where I think people have a problem with, because it's not consistent. And he's a person that, well, he's a journalist. And also, he's a person that says he likes questions. So when he doesn't push back or doesn't always follow up questions, it's just. And that's why I think Crowder felt he needed to talk to Fuentes, because while I don't think the interview that Tucker had with Fuentes was as bad as they made it sound, they definitely there was a lot of missing gaps in it, because Tucker didn't ask some questions, and so there were missing things people were wondering. So I think that's what inspired Crowder to go, okay, well, let's go see if we can find out. So he did, which I will make a video about that on my next video about my thoughts on Crowder's interview with Fuentes. But yeah, people just won't be quiet about that. And I'd say Tucker definitely comes off as very laid back, which I guess I like that he lets his guests talk, because then you can really get to hear the person, unlike Sean Hannity, who just never shuts up and just cannot let the guest talk, so you don't even know what the guest said. So I do like he's laid back, because sometimes he's a little bit too laid back, and because of it, it leaves gaps. So I would say, in my opinion, interview, I would give Tucker about a 7.5 on how he interviews. And that doesn't mean that he's not good at getting facts, because there's a difference between commentating, where they're just talking about things, versus actual journalism. I think when it comes to journalism, like with Thomas Crook's type of journalism, oh yeah, he's definitely around a 9.5. But when it comes to like just general commentating, I could say more like interviews, maybe a 7.5. He can be a little bit more aggressive, at least more consistent. So I definitely will give him some criticism for that. But I thought his answer to Megyn Kelly was great on when they kept scolding. Why didn't you ask this? Well, why don't you interview him? So I'm glad Crowder actually did, interview him. If you think he did a bad job, interview him. Then we all can ask him questions from a different angle. And I think with Fuentes, you kind of have to go at him with a different angle, because he's such an interesting figure that a lot of young males look to. And it's so anyway, that's the thing. My Tucker, they went Tucker. And again, I'm not trying to be a Tucker defender here or at all. I don't mean to be, but it's like people need to know what's really going on, because like the other day I went to the bar not a few weeks ago, and there's a question about a guy, what do you think of, a question was brought up, what do you think of Tucker? Well, oh, he's anti-Israel. That's all they think of Tucker is Israel. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's like people don't understand that it's just people are so headline readers. People just read off the headlines. They don't even think about going to look. And there's many more like that. And it's like they don't even ask questions. And it's like, well, first of all, I mean, okay, we can have opinions on Israel, but it's like, I guess we can have different opinions on Israel, right? We should. I mean, I hope so. But it's like, but suddenly now, and that wasn't even the main issue in campaign, right? I don't even think Israel's really talked about much on the campaign trail other than trying to bring peace to that region, right? But suddenly, I don't like him because his views on Israel. It's like, well, since when was I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not. This is not about Israel. I really don't want to get into that. I'm kind of so tired of the Israel obsession with people. Even Tucker, I think, gets talked about a little too much sometimes, which is just, again, every time you're talking about foreign policy, there's less domestic focus. So it doesn't help when you do that. So that's my big criticism there. But it's like, again, people are such headline readers, and it's like, that's what happened with Donald Trump. There are people who read headlines, and then that's how they made their decision to vote for him. And these people that are like that, they probably were the same ones that didn't want to vote for Trump at first. They were these, not DeSantis, but these are the people that destroyed Ted Cruz's career, which Cruz is. I have to make another video about Ted Cruz because the downfall of him is quite, I think, sad actually, because even though he's a little kind of establishment, he was one I kind of respected, but that went out the door when he decided to call Tucker a communist just because he understands why Mamdani won, and he doesn't. He pretends like he doesn't. It's like, even though anyway, but it just, again, there's such headline readers. Sorry, I'm redundant, but it's just like, how do we, and that's a dangerous place to be in, because people will make their voting decision off that. So let's say Tucker runs for president, or how about this, JD Vance? Here's an example. Tucker's not going to run for president. It's just not happening. So for those who think Tucker will run, that's not happening. And I think we need Tucker's voice in the media. And I like Tucker's passion, but I think it's easy to say what you think should happen, but it's another thing to actually do it. And I think Tucker is, I don't know if he can be as effective. I think we need his voice in the media, and I think that's where he should be. But he's really good friends with JD Vance. And he's a big part of why I think Trump picked him. Because, I mean, there's a lot of controversy. Was Tucker really a MAGA, like, Trump supporter or not? Well, it's debatable. I mean, I can't read his heart. I know he campaigned for him, but what are you going to do? Kamala Harris, we were that close to Kamala Harris. It's kind of hard not to campaign for him. So, I don't know. But yeah, that's the thing. I know Tucker said that, what really got him to support Trump was the reaction to Trump, instead of, the reaction to Trump not being able to answer questions that Trump thought was reasonable to ask, and just the lawfare against him is what Tucker said got him to support Trump and then eventually campaign for him, which is clear. I think a lot of people voted for Trump for that. So it's just, that's why Tucker appeals to people, because he understands why the American voter, and especially our base, I understand some of the way he messages won't appeal to Gen X or more boomers. I think Gen X is kind of split on Tucker. Some love him, some don't. They're kind of they grew up in a different era, so I get his messaging may not always appeal, but his audience is young people. So I understand why he does that. But he also understands that we are the future in about 20 years from now, and if the left, if they continue to take us for granted, it's going to cause a revolution. The problem is, it could be so bad, it might be a violent revolution, and that's the problem. And yet Tucker's trying to warn that, but yet Tucker's the crazy one for bringing that up. And it's just, give it a few years. I think Tucker is going to be the one that I feel like people will realize might have been the one right. And give it a few years. I think is going to. Crowder's pretty right wing too. I think Crowder tries to be the moderate between MAGA and kind of the traditional, but even Crowder's getting more red pilled when you listen to how he talks. So I think he's going to go that way too. So, a lot of people call Trump crazy, but look how accurate Trump has been. I think, same with Charlie. Charlie was correct on a lot of things. Tucker's been correct on a lot of things, and people thought he was crazy then. They're going to realize he might have been right. So we'll see what happens. So I want to show some examples of things, because here's the thing. People don't realize a lot of the reason why I think Tucker's so popular is because he was talking about these things before it was considered popular. Here's an example. Like immigration. Right now, Trump has issued an immigration moratorium, and this was in March 10th. It was only recently people were agreeing to immigration moratorium. I think Tucker, then it was Charlie Kirk, and then you're starting to now see people do that. And it's kind of sad that now people support it after a Afghan terrorist that never should have been here ambushed our military, National Guard, and now he does that. So, why did it not take place? Why do we have to wait for a terror attack on our own military and people to actually do these things so these won't happen when you see the science in Europe? Now, one more thing about Tucker, though. He does need to be messaged a little bit better, because sometimes he comes off like he downplays Islam a little bit. I do think, I'm putting it nicely, I give him a lot of leeway because he's a traditional journalist. He probably knows more than we do on some things. But I also think he's trying to curb the Arab hatred in this country, because I do think a lot of it's manufactured too. We've been conditioned since 9/11 to hate Arabs. I do think so. And here's the thing. There's a lot of American Christians that don't like Arab Christians. They do exist in this country. There's a lot of Arab prejudice. And I think, yes, Islam's a problem, and we cannot let it come to America. And Tucker needs to be mindful and don't get complacent with it, because what it's doing to Europe is also just destroyed Europe. I mean, so that's why people think he contradicts himself, because he talks about immigration, trying to change our population, but yet he kind of sounds a little bit like, oh, Islam's not a big problem. And it's like, well, in America it isn't. I really don't think it's that big of a problem right now, but it is in Europe. And if we are complacent, it can be a problem. And, and I think that's the thing. And Tucker has to understand he's a male, so he doesn't have to be as afraid of it. And he has daughters, so he should be concerned, because guess what? They don't really view women as people. They view them as property. So, but here's some examples where Tucker is not for, bring in all Muslims. He's pro-Islam. No. This is what he said about immigration moratorium. He said this before it was popular. Think about this.
In theory, we need to shut, and they appreciate America. But I have to say, including my best friend, a lot of the best people I know are immigrants, and they appreciate America for what actually makes it great, which is its core freedoms. And
what do you mean you're against immigration?
We have too much immigration.
That was Andrew.
There's a difference between too much and none.
We're not against immigration.
You just said
in
that.
theory.
Okay.
We need to shut down all immigration right now until we can retain or regain equilibrium and figure out what it is that holds us all together as a nation. It's too chaotic. It's too crazy right now. No more people, period. None. Cap it right now, and then just cooling off period. 30 or 40 years.
Cooling off from what? This is all stuff that Trump has...
So think about that for a minute. And I think it was the I think the last president to cut all immigration for a period of time was actually Calvin Coolidge in the 1920s, I believe. Right? Yeah, Trump shared something earlier about that, about Calvin Coolidge. However, Trump needs to act right now. He needs to actually do something, not just, post on X, True Social. Do it. We voted for action, Trump. He's done some things, but start action. I feel a lot lately, there's been a lot of talk. Do it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know it's offensive to some people, but immigration's so out of hand in this country. And it didn't have to be this way. 10 years from now, Tucker would have been talking crazy. Charlie would have been talking crazy because Charlie supported a moratorium too. Benny Johnson. I think Crowder, kinda, pretty close to it. All agree on a moratorium right now. At least for third world countries. I kind of find it funny. Even Tucker said all immigration, actually. But so that's the thing. So, I don't know. Why would Tucker? I don't know. Tucker sounded like he talked a little bit double talk. But so there you go. Tucker set the stage for that. Now everyone seems to be going along with it now. Here's another example: the Great Replacement theory, which he warned about. Now, here's the thing with Great Replacement theory. It's not a theory, it's a fact. The goal for the globalists was to replace the Western, you could say the white people, by overthrowing, but the way to destroy their cultures by importing these countries with a bunch of third world countries who don't fit the culture. And you destroy a country. Now, I think by the 2040s, America's projected to be like I think right now the white population's like just the high 60%, and it's supposed to get lower and lower over time. Like, that's not good, actually, because it means that you're overpopulating so fast that you're not assimilating these people, but you're also... and it's not by accident. You don't do these things by accident. It's intentional to replace us. It's kind of fun. We call them Westerners. These globalists are not Westerners. They're globalists. So here's an example here.
Because they don't like the people who live here, and they want to change the population. That's why.
It's about mass demographic
replacement. Charlie said that.
If you can't win over the population, or if you hate the population, which they do, then you need to replace that population. And again, this is the Great Replacement reality that is happening in real time. London was 95% white in the 1920s. It is now 29% white. Now, again, I don't think whites are better than other people, whatever, but it's just not London anymore.
They're the indigenous population. It's literally a thing.
I mean, I thought, we're, lectured all the time about ethnic cleansing.
If it was happening in Tibet, which it has.
Again, I'm not for that, wherever it is.
I agree, but if you replace Tibetans with Han Chinese, no one's like, they're all Tibetans. They're all Tibetans. It's like, no. It's a strategy designed to replace the Tibet. Because they don't like the people who live here.
There you go. So Charlie, Kirk, and Tucker nailed it very well here. Our government hates us. They hate the white population. It's why I actually don't have a problem as a Hispanic, who's mostly Hispanic, why I don't have a problem with, I guess you could say, white Americans wanting America to be more white than not being white, because we're basically a Western part of, like, Western Europe. Our culture is supposed to be similar, at least in regards to, supposed to be more Christian, which is funny because Europe's not even Christian, it's pagan, because of our leadership and how it's been manufactured to destroy it with propaganda. But that's what America Christian value supposed to present in the West, and they don't want that. They hate that. So let's break it down and replace them, because they won't vote for us, which is why the Democrats want the illegals to vote here. And that's why they don't care if they're a criminal or not, because it's more votes for them. It's power. Here's another one with Benny Johnson. He quoted it, but here's an example of... Here it is. The Afghan refugee. An Afghan refugee or that came, which is clear he must have came under Biden. Maybe I'm factually wrong here, but something he worked for the CIA, so maybe I better stay put on that. But he warned about the dangers of bringing in these people without being vetted, because look, a lot of them were not properly vetted. And it's funny, Biden brought them over here before we brought the Americans that were there still, refugees. See why I'm not for regime change wars, why I'm not for these over interventionists. Of course, Biden just botched the whole deal, but why? It causes refugee crisis and they go to the West. So it's all intentional, I think. But here's one thing here.
So we know a lot of Afghan refugees are coming here. How many exactly? Where are they going? How are they being processed when they get here? We have answers to some of those questions tonight. Here's what we've learned from government sources. Dulles Airport right outside Washington is a main welcoming site for flights landing at all hours of the day filled with Afghan refugees. As of this morning, just under 3,700 men from Afghanistan have been processed at Dulles. One recent flight landed there with nearly 200 evacuees. Homeland Security officials are currently discussing opening similar sites at other airports around the country. DHS has also been soliciting volunteers to staff its processing centers overseas. There are currently 3 of those that are vetting refugees in Bahrain, Qatar, and Germany. The administration is planning to open 4 other overseas processing sites. DHS's goal, it says, is to process 10,000 refugees every day at many of these overseas locations. So we reached out to DHS for comment on Friday. A spokesman there said that they are, quote, working around the clock to ensure individuals are screened against U.S. government databases prior to arriving in the U.S. and upon arrival. These are the people who had no idea the Taliban were going to take Kabul in a weekend. What will happen? Well, their attitudes, a lot of good people, but are very different from those of most Americans. A new poll by Pew found that 99% of Afghan Muslims support, for example, enacting Sharia law. So many Republicans in Congress have no problem with this at all. In fact, some of those want us to evacuate Afghans from Kabul before we get all Americans, citizens, out of the country. One of the
So here's basically J.D. Vance basically quoted that you're not vetted Afghan refugees properly, and we need to stop bringing tens of thousands to our country. Anybody who tells you otherwise is full of it. And Benny Johnson responds to both Tucker's video and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, Tucker Carlson 4 years ago absolutely nailed it. Make sure you listen to the people who have been proven right by history. They're the ones who will be right again and again. So, I mean, who often's been right in more recent things when they warned things? I think Donald Trump's been right on a lot of things he warned about, which people called him crazy. Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, J.D. Vance. I mean, I know, I hate to say it, but Alex Jones has been right on a lot of things too. He warned about. I mean, he warned about, about how they're gonna go after these conservatives by killing them. They attempted to go with Donald Trump twice to kill Donald Trump, and that they were going to go after Charlie Kirk, and they succeeded on Kirk, unfortunately, and they're going to keep going. So, excuse me. So, anyway, that's all I really have left to say on Tucker right now, but those are just examples. So, with that being said, Tucker's doing his best. I've seen all the evidence. I do listen to a lot, but I don't listen to everything he talks about. Not everything's interesting. But I will say this. If you haven't taken the chance to actually listen to him, I really don't want to. I'm really not going to take people seriously on their opinions of Tucker if you really haven't tried to actually listen to what he actually had to say, or at least get curious enough to have a conversation about what he said. And if it's just because you heard someone else say it, something about what he said, then I can't take that view seriously. So that's where I stand on that. So my point is, get curious with anybody. Don't just go by headliners. So, sorry, I'm fighting a cold. So, but anyway, that's all I have. I just got to clear the end because I'm not liking what I'm seeing, and I don't know. All it's doing is pushing me more towards Tucker. So, the more people do that, and when you do that, and so anyway, that's my take. That's my opinion on that. But I'm not liking it, what I'm seeing, and we need to get on the ball. We got to focus on the left, and I have to say it, but you're silly if you think Tucker's not on our side. Okay? And Tucker's allowed to be wrong. So we all need to cut our pride, and I'm not saying he isn't prideful either. He's kind of made some blunders that I'm kind of, but he's still more on our side than the left. So that's what I'm going with. So anyway, if you like this video, please like. If you have anything to add, comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you like this channel, please subscribe. Hit bell for notification. The Red Pilling channel out.